Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guys and dolls, preppers and non-preppers alike, welcome to another amazing episode of Prepper Talk Radio. I am Scott, joined with Shane and Paris. Welcome back, guys. Welcome to our YouTube, our podcast, wherever you're hearing us. And before we jump in to the craziness, I just need to remember you do have a job. This is your job. We're going to talk about this today. What is your job? A lot of people like to think in life, oh, it's not my job. And there's also the job crisis going on where it's kind of the great resignation is continuing. People just don't want to go back to work. But when it comes to prepping and survival and living, it's your job.
What I like to say is that rings through my ears regularly is if it is to be, it's up to me. Right. And so that's kind of the code I live by.
There you go. Well, guys, before we get into it, I want to remind you to go follow us on all of our platforms, especially because we're going to be doing a giveaway. Go to Prepper Talk Radio on YouTube. Make sure you're following us there. Make sure you're in our Facebook group because we're going to be giving away a Jase case. That's a $250 value. We're going to be giving it away to you, one of our listeners. But to find out who it's going to go to, we're going to use an automatic digital spinner system, kind of like you go to Wheel of Fortune. It just spins it and you find out how many dollars you get if you get the letter or vowel or whatever. This is going to automatically generate a winner randomly, and then we have to verify that you're actually following us on all the platforms. So if you're not following us on YouTube and you're not following us on Facebook, you won't win. But we're only going to give this away to someone that's in our Facebook group that's following us on both of those two pages. So if you're not a Facebooker, I'm sorry, you're going to be out of this one. But we're doing this just so we can bump that 1,000 mark on YouTube and also benefit you, the listener, with something cool that we all have. We've all bought our own. It's awesome. We love our Jase case. And if you want a Jase case and not have to just wait to see if you can win, head on over to Jase Medical, JASE medical.com. And right when you get to their website, go through the process. It's really simple. Order the Jase case. It asks you for medical history. It asks you for information. It asks you about your doctors. That way that they can give you legitimate prescriptions to the medications in this pouch. And these are the emergency antibiotics. So if you can't get to a doctor, these are the things you're going to need to use, especially in an emergency situation or grid down situation. So check those out and use the promo code PrepperTalk to save an additional $10 off.
And we interviewed the founder, I guess, a few months ago, and that was a great interview. I really thought that was a great podcast. So maybe you could stick that up over here, Paris.
Yeah, somewhere it would be up over, it'd be up over here.
That was really it. That was a great interview. He's a great guy, very smart guy here local to Utah. So
there you go.
Very cool.
Well, awesome. Well, today's episode is all about if it is to be, it's up to me, or what is your job when it comes to prepping and survival off grid. It's just like a garden. If you don't grow it, if you don't plant it, if you don't sow it, you won't have anything to harvest, right? Nothing can grow. Nothing will happen if you're not doing something to make it happen. So that's what today's episode is all about. If you don't go buy food storage, there won't be any there when you need it. If you don't put water in your containers, there won't be any there when you need it. You don't want to wait until there's an actual issue and then be like, oh, we need water. Like, for example, we had the flooding in Tennessee. City water was out. They didn't have anything they could do. And so the friends that I had out there, like, man, it's a good thing I had water stored because the city water and everything else, there was nothing we could do. And there's also news recently, and I can't remember where it was, but they're like, guys, stop drinking the city water because it's bad. It's contaminated. We didn't know how bad it was. There's no redundancies. Toxic chemicals are in it. Don't drink your water. And the whole city's like, well, what are we supposed to drink then?
Yeah.
Well, if you had 5 gallons set aside for each person in the family, you'd at least have a start. You wouldn't panic for the first couple of days. You'd be able to get organized.
I can't remember where that video was, but I saw a video of this guy running the sink in his bathroom, I think. And it was like coffee coming out of it. It was gross. It was black. I mean, well, I'm sure some people would love to have coffee coming out of their tap, but if it was real coffee, but it was just black, the color of coffee just coming out of their supposedly tap water. That's like, and they were just like, wow. I think it was Jimmy Levy, the singer, his Instagram, he was showing about how in one of these cities that there was the tap water was just dark and black. And that's that's gross. You can't here's I think this should be the mantra of every prepper. We've talked about if it is to be, it is up to me, but the personal responsibility is critical, and you can't wait for somebody else to do it for you. There's no prepper that's worth his weight in gold is going to sit around and say, well, somebody's going to do it. And be somebody. Like, you're the guy, you're the gal, you're the one. It's up to you. If you don't have the food storage, if you don't have the garden planted, nobody's going to come do it for you. Nobody's going to come buy your food storage and make sure nobody's going to calculate what you need and give it to you and hand it to you and shop for you. You literally got to get up off the couch and you got to do the calculations yourself, and you got to get out there and get it done. Otherwise, nobody's coming to save you.
Here's a story I use around my house. At least I try to use around my house. It doesn't work very well so far. The story of the Little Red Hen, right? Little Red Hen scratching and finds some wheat, right? Oh, hey, who will help me plant this wheat, right? And then the cat and the goose and the rat would all say, no, not me. I'm not going to help. So the end of the story is, okay, who's going to help me eat this bread? And everybody's all, yay, I'll help you. But none of them would help through the process. So I try and leverage my kids a little bit that way. Hey, who's going to help me do this? No, I mean, well, I guess you're not going to eat the bread at the end, right? So go read that story, the Little Red Hen.
Yeah, we're all running into that really bad. Like, I think it's more that happening than anything else. And everybody wants the benefit, but nobody wants to do the actual work.
Mm-hmm. I found a link here that shows the modern Little Red Hen. And I'm not going to read it, but it's pretty hilarious. I can't help. I'd lose my unemployment compensation. Right? Then I will read it. So it goes on that way. So maybe we could tag that here in comments or something. It's pretty hilarious. I'll copy this over to you somehow.
That's awesome. That's exactly it.
The modern version of the Little Red Hen. I think that fits perfectly.
Yeah, shoot it over. I'll put it in the description.
Okay. Yeah, I guess in the chat here. Here we go. I'll drop it in the chat.
We've got a ton of absolutely ridiculous entitlement issues going on in the world right now. Like, there's so many different charities out there, and which I highly agree with, by the way. We should be taking care of those that are in need, and those that have needs that are legitimate. We should definitely be doing our part to protect and keep those people safe. And again, there's people that take advantage of it, which is unfortunate. Mm-hmm. But that's not up to us to determine whether they're taking advantage of it or not. It's up to us to just do our part, and then hope and pray. But when the crap hits the fan, we can't just say, well, FEMA will come in and save me. Or the Red Cross will come in and save me, or my church I'll just go to my church because they have a storehouse of food, or there's back where I used to live in Fresno, California, there was a homeless shelter. Well, we'll just go there for the homeless shelter and then they'll feed us. Well, too many people, if everybody's thinking that way, how fast do you think that food is going to run out?
Well, check the current situation of most shelters right now. A lot of reports I'm hearing is that they're already overwhelmed and unable to provide sufficient amount of food for people who are coming anyway. So if and when it hits the fan, or rather when it hits the fan, what are they going to have for you? Probably nothing. Probably nothing at all.
There won't be anything left. The people who are giving now, and really it's corporations, it's some charities, those are the ones that are acquiring things and giving it now. When they have nothing to give, where are you going to find food? Where are you going to find resources? And waiting for FEMA, that's a bad idea. Look what happened in Katrina. It took 3 to 4 weeks for them to get to certain people in some places. Other places, people never got relief. So you have to look at your current situation, where you are, how you're doing things, and it's just not possible in all cases.
And look at the more, I guess, conspiracy theorist idea about the FEMA camps, right? Is that there are going to be concentration camps.
Yep.
They are going to be there to, well, not to get too cruel, to exterminate, right? And I mean, who really knows what'll happen there? But if you want to avoid those situations, and all the, you see we see the news quotation marks, which others would consider fake news, is all the coffins that have been ordered, all the guillotines that have been ordered, and those types of things. I'm just going to stay away from that, and just imagine How
Guillotines?
filthy. Yeah, guillotines. You haven't
Did I
heard about
miss that
this?
news report? Tell me about that.
Well, that's been around for a long time. Been around for a long time.
Yeah,
I don't know that I
I've
have
seen
much
it.
off the top of my tongue here, but and again, that's kind of a topics we stray away from. We don't touch on here on this podcast because there's plenty of other places you can go to find out more gruesome news like that, and we tend to not touch on those things. But FEMA camps, bad news. Bad news. Let me just say that without going into any detail. And I think most of you who are preppers or know what I'm talking about, right? So we don't need to talk in detail about that, but maybe I'll try and find something to put it in the chat.
Well, I think it's interesting. I know I talked with a lady from the Red Cross recently, and they were there was an emergency preparedness fair in my city, and they were there. They had a table and a booth or whatever, and it was interesting to talk to her and chat about the resources that they have. And then I thought, if a Red Cross or FEMA or something comes into an area and that community already has food storage, they already know what they're doing. They've already kind of communicated with each other. They know how each other's doing. They're going to be so grateful that that base level of information is already available. They don't have to come in and waste 2 or 3 days assessing the situation. Like if you've already organized your street where everybody's got food storage, everybody's got water storage, you got a guy or gal who's good at medicine and first aid, and somebody who's good at maybe knows how to do a little construction, so that if there's a serious natural disaster, you're going to have equipment. You're going to have chainsaws and shovels and other things to be able to get things out of the way. So if you have a crew that's kind of already set up, already been trained in your neighborhood, imagine when Red Cross shows up and you're already set, and Red Cross is like, wow, can you help us?
Give you a real scenario that actually did happen. This is back in 1976. I'm originally from Idaho, grew up in Colorado, but is in Idaho. My family's been there for 4 or 5 generations, and they built this Teton Dam. And then they're like, all right, we got this great dam and it's beautiful and we're going to fill it full of water. And it completely failed. And it was catastrophic. Like I have great aunts and uncles whose homes were completely washed away. Like it took out so much. And it was a $48 million dam reservoir that they built. 100% unusable. They haven't rebuilt. It's over. But here's what happened. The locals, especially through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is really strong up there. And what happened was the stake presidents and the emergency preparedness coordinators, they hit it hard. They went around and they're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go take care of this group. Then we're going to go take care of this group, and we're going to triage this and focus on that and do this and that. And they had everything all already planned out. And so by the time that the Red Cross and the government got there, they're like, okay, here's what we need you to do. We're going to organize you into these groups, and we're going to have you go and do this.
Already done.
And the stake president goes, that's done.
Oh yeah, we already did that.
Oh, okay. So then the next thing is this. And they went through 4 or 5 different things. And they're like, this is what you get to do. And then the stake president's like, no, we did that already. Okay, well then you need to do this. We did that too. Okay, now I need you to we did that too. And then the stake president goes, okay, what haven't you done? We're like, no, it's all done. It's all done. It's all taken care of. They nullified the usefulness of those groups. And it's basically just came down to, well, when your resources get here, let's use those to help these people. And that's all they used them for. When they finally got resources there, everybody else was already being fed. Everybody else was already being rescued. They were starting to rebuild roads. They were starting to set everything up. Everything was already handled because they had plans in place and they had a network of people. This is why we stress community so much, because when you have things like that happen where it's localized and not globalized, you've got to be able to work together quickly. You've got to be able to get everybody communicated, everybody working together so that things can get resolved. Because waiting for someone to come in and rescue you, A, it could never happen, and B, it takes time.
Yeah.
And you don't have time. We don't have time. Especially as fast as our world moves now, we don't have time to wait for stuff.
Yeah. These emergency preparedness, first responders in big disasters, 3-4 days, easy, before they can get you. And if you don't have certain things in place, that you could in 3 days, 4 days, you could be done.
Well, and after Katrina, FEMA's like, that's not 3 days isn't going to work anymore. And so they waited a couple of years, and then they said, oh, by the way, everybody, you need a 4-day supply. So update your bags to 4 days. And so people still sell 72-hour kits. And I'm like, I've been yelling for over
several years,
13 years now. 96-hour kits minimum. And FEMA's like, hey guys, 96-hour kits is the way to go now. So let's get that taken care of. And I'm like, yeah, you're late. Again, they're late.
Yeah.
And anyone who's still buying 96-hour kits, 72-hour kits, that's fine. I prefer you build it. It's better to build. It's always better to build. It's going to save you money, and it's going to be only the stuff you know you need and only the stuff you're going to use. Instead of a bunch of random crap that you're going to like, what's this? Hey, I got a box of wibbly wobbly stuff that I can't use. And I just hiked out of my city, and I don't know why I had an extra 10 pounds of garbage in my bag.
So, Scott, this verse, the scripture came to my mind while you're talking about this. Proverbs 13:16. Every prudent man dealeth with knowledge, but a fool layeth open his folly. So what you're talking about, that's folly to me, right? And if you don't have the knowledge, you don't realize it's folly, right? So you got to get that knowledge. And that's part of this personal responsibility. What we're talking about today is, things I wrote down and kind of doing some of my prep is training and teaching and, business success. It has everything to do with that as well. Your medical and mental health as well. It's all related. Joshua 25:15, choose ye this day whom you'll serve. Those are all the things that came to my mind while I'm getting ready for this today.
I think that's beautiful. Awesome. It's so funny how people run around and look for mentors for their businesses. Oh, I need a mentor. I gotta get this guy who's done this, and I gotta do this and that and the other, and this expert's going to teach me how to do this. And
looking in the wrong places, I tell you. I see so many fools out there.
And a lot of them run around. And they spend a lot of money on all these courses and trainings, and I call it shiny object syndrome. They're just chasing these wheels of offers, and they buy the offers, but they don't learn anything. They don't do anything. And I'm like, here we are, and we call ourselves Radio for the Ready-Minded for a reason. If you start thinking this way and you start planning out, like, how am I going to get better prepared? What skills do I lack? Go to our website, preppertalkradio.com. Make sure you subscribe, get the downloads. In the downloads, we have a planning guide to help you plan and assess your situation. Figure out what you've got well, what you're doing good, and what you are terrible at, and let's fix those. And then we can help you prioritize it in our Facebook group. Or you could message us on any platform. We're here to help. Like, we love helping people. It may take 24 hours to hear back from us, but at least we're going to get back to you. And it's like, we don't charge you for it. We just help you. And the funny thing is there's so many people that I've looked at and I've followed on social media to see what they're doing, and they charge hundreds and thousands to help people get prepared. I'm like, dude, we've been doing this for free for 7 years. Come on, like, subscribe, like, follow, ask us questions. And there's so many people in the industry that just want to help and make sure you do the right things and you're not wasting money on the wrong things. But really, knowledge is more important, more powerful than everything else.
And then applying that knowledge into skill sets.
Which at that point, it becomes wisdom, right?
Absolutely.
The application of knowledge.
Well, just this last week, I was doing a little bit of inventory on my food storage. And I was like, and I remembered those sheets, those spreadsheets that were in the downloads. And I needed really update what I'm doing, but I just kind of preliminarily went through and said, you know what, I need to get a couple more things. And so I went down and I got myself a couple more boxes. And again, nobody's going to go do that for me. I'm the one that's got to do that. I'm responsible for my wife and my children. And if something happens and I didn't do what I was supposed to do, what kind of a man, what kind of a protector, what kind of a provider am I? And so not to guilt anybody or shame anybody, but at the same time, sometimes that works. Sometimes people need to be guilted and shamed into doing stuff. So get after it. Be the provider, be the man of the house if you're the man of the house. And if you're a single mom,
be the responsible adult.
Yeah, there we go. Be the responsible adult. Take responsibility.
I heard Joel Skousen, and hopefully you guys all know that name. I heard him say once that if you give people hope, then they won't do anything. They won't prepare, right? So you hear a lot of these people out there doing the doom and gloom thing, right? Which I hope you guys don't feel like we do the doom and gloom thing at all, really. I mean, we try and we try and keep it light but real. I mean, real knowledge. But I mean, there's definitely something to be said about, okay, if you have too much hope, if you have too much, like you're saying, depending on somebody else, oh, everything's gonna be okay. Yeah, the government's good. They've got food. They got plans.
It's false hope.
You're a fool. It's false hope. Exactly. And you're just not going to do anything. Well, I say a lot of people don't do anything when they feel like somebody else is going to do it for them. Mm-hmm. That is a big problem nowadays. That's a huge problem.
And what's interesting is the younger generation. This is fascinating to me. I've been watching this for a while. They buy less stuff. They have more. It seems like they have more subscriptions to things, but they're buying less stuff overall. They're using less stuff. They're more minimalist than anyone before, and they're also leery of a lot of them are leery of investment vehicles, because they saw what happened in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. It's like, especially the housing market, boom, you're right. It was going up and then just crashed, and everybody lost everything home wise. So much equity gone, right? Fake money anyways. But they've seen all that and they're like, yeah, I'm good. And there's so many of them that are like, I'm going to live in a van down by the river. Mm-hmm. Like Chris Farley and that skit on Saturday Night Live aged so well because now there's the whole van life.
But they're doing it on purpose, right? I mean,
and there's so many of them that are homesteading and they're growing microgreens. And it's like, I'm watching the younger generation and I'm just in awe because they didn't fall for the materialism. A lot of them didn't. They didn't fall for the materialism of, oh, hey, I've got to have this huge truck and, oh, I've got to have all these cool clothes. And, yeah, they are the Instagram and, TikTok generations, but they're making a lot better choices than I did at that age.
But you also have to, I guess, take into account is, these minimalists, obviously they don't have much, right? That's the idea of minimalism. But what is wealth? What is real wealth? It's stuff. Wealth, it's not dollar numbers in your bank account on a digital screen. That's not wealth. It's not money either. It
also depends on
currency.
Stuff. Like what stuff is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Like if I have a library of garbage, it's garbage. If I don't have food storage and I have, I don't know, my Game Boy's so old, I just aged myself. A PS4, right, and stacks of games, it's useless.
Mm-hmm.
But having food storage, skills, and knowledge more than anything, again, the most valuable things, knowledge. And no one's going to just plug into your brain and give you the knowledge. You've got to go get it
yourself.
You've got to read the books. You've got to spend the time. You don't do that, you're never going to get it.
Yeah. I was just talking to a buddy of mine today and I was like, look, I'm really focused on making some more money so that I can, take care of my family and do some other things with my business, growing my business. And he's like, in a couple of years, fiat currency isn't going to be worth anything. And I said, I know that's not why I'm interested in getting a bunch of money. I'm not going to just stick it in my bank account. I want to get a bunch of money so that I can go buy a freeze dryer, so I can go buy some more gold, some more silver, so I can buy some more food storage, buy some more water storage. I want to have my things in assets. Well, not, I mean, assets by definition are things that produce an income for you, but I want to have my stuff in things that are valuable, that store value. That's a more appropriate thing to say.
Store value in themselves, value. In and of themselves, right? Not as a derivative of something else or something imaginary like cryptos, right? I mean, there's no value in those whatsoever, unless they are actually backed by something physical like gold or silver, which I understand there are some cryptos out there, but still I won't touch them. But yeah, absolutely. A prepper is kind of a maximalist, right, instead of a minimalist. But there is the minimalist prepper.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a movement at this point or what I would call it.
I wouldn't say it is yet, but I think there's, like, for example, as a prepper, you kind of go through an evolution of things too.
Yeah, it's kind of an oxymoron to be a minimalist prepper, if you ask me.
Yeah. Like a survivalist or wilderness survival expert is the minimalist side of things. And they really have skills, right? But
there's not much stuff.
Myself, like I've gotten rid of stuff because it doesn't serve me anymore.
Mhm.
My knowledge has outpaced some of the gear and some of the products I've had, and I've simplified my redundancies.
In particular, the gimmicky kind of things
Mhm.
that you fall for when you only need a basic knife, right? A fixed blade
Oh
knife,
yeah.
you know, compared to a lot of other gimmicky things that are thrown your way.
Well,
No, dude,
like
you
I
need a
fell
lot of
for the
knives.
knives thing like
Mm.
crazy. Like I still have a lot of different knives, but I had like a list of knives I wanted to buy. Well, the funny thing is I had a Mora knife, and it was just one of their little cheap $7 knives that I bought. Oh my gosh, almost 13, 14 years ago.
It's now a $14 knife.
Now, yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
right.
still to this day,
That's all
it's
you need.
held its blade better than most any other blade I have. It's a fixed blade. It is my favorite backpacking and camping
Mhm.
knife, and I've
Nice.
switched it. So now I have those. I think I have 3 of those. Those are in my get home bags too. Because I'm like, why do I need anything else?
That's where minimalism, I guess, applies. But it shouldn't apply to your food storage and all that stuff too. So.
Yeah,
Well, right.
that's the with
But like,
minimalism that scares me is the guys that are like, well, I can't get food storage. I don't have enough room in my apartment, or I don't have enough room in my van,
In
my
your
van life.
van, yeah.
And I'm like, well, you are going to be in big trouble on if you
that's
don't.
when you minimalize your crap in your house,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't
Yes.
need a giant entertainment system.
That's
You
where it
don't
makes
need a
perfectly sense
76
to be a minimalist.
TV, right? Like
Mhm.
simplify. Like mount your TV on the wall and build a fake like cardboard box and paint it and put all your food storage underneath and inside that. Like you don't have to go crazy. Like you can put there's a movie called The RM. We've talked about this before, but the kid comes home from his mission. It's a Utah Mormon video, but he comes home and he goes to jump on his bed and he hops on the bed and it's like, it's like hard. He's like, oh, and his mom's like, oh yeah, it's the food storage. We got rid of your bed. That's a little crazy. I built platform beds when I lived alone, and all my food storage, like or not, when I was single, and all my food storage and all my gear for 6 months was under my bed. So when you say I don't have room for everything, and you're living in an apartment, I'm calling malarkey. I'm calling bullcrap because you can find ways
room.
to make it fit. I had a 6-month food supply for almost 2 people in my apartment under my bed. Granted, my bed was 4 feet off the ground, but it was all in my bed. But it all fit there. You've just got to prioritize and figure out what's going to make the most sense for you. Now I've got a big house with space, so we space things out. We spread it out. But again, it's my responsibility to take care of me and my family. Just like it's your responsibility to take care of you and your family. Whether
Whatever
you're the
that
dad,
is.
whether you're the mom, whether you're the big brother and you live at home, whether it's a multi-generational family living situation. Like, you got to get everybody involved, got to get everybody motivated and into it. And you've got to find what their trigger points are to get them motivated to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, one of the hottest topics, one of the most things that's most motivational to that it stands for, if it is to be, it's up to me, is that is concealed carry and self-defense. The world is teaching us, or say the left, the government, the media is teaching us the exact opposite. So if you watch that, just think the opposite is going to be true. But if you learned to conceal carry, you get your permit, or if you live in a state that has constitutional carry, then at that point you can really begin to understand what it means to be self-reliant on that aspect of life. When you are the only one who's going to defend yourself and your family, because that's the absolute truth. And that's when I think it really became real to me, like, oh, wow, I need to train. I need to learn how to do this responsibly. And, one of the ways to learn is to teach, right? So it's been a long road. I know, Scott, you were talking about this is an evolution. It's a huge evolution. And that we did a show about that years ago, about the evolution of prepping. And was one of my favorites too. And we should probably do that again.
You should hit that up again. Yeah,
it was a great one. And it was absolute evolution. All of these steps are all evolution, food production and your spirituality. I mean, it's all an evolution. But something, when it comes down to something physical, get yourself a pistol, carry it, and then you'll start to understand what I'm talking about. If it is to be, it's up to me. If you don't already understand it, right? I'm assuming
there you go.
Too much there.
No,
Yeah,
I think that's a strong way to finish it off, guys. Like, listen, as a listening audience, make sure you're actually taking the right steps to protect your family with your food, with your self-defense, with your protection, with security. Anything and everything in your life is really, it's up to you, right? If you call the police, someone's breaking into your house, and you call the police and they're like, I'm sorry, we're 15 minutes away. We're dealing with another emergency. Go hide. You're not, no. It's up to you to take care of yourself. You can't just wait for that. So in all scenarios, do the best you can with what you have. And when you can improve on it. And where the biggest gaps are is your skills and your knowledge. And that is what you need to focus on. So take that to the bank, pull the money out, invest it in yourself, and get growing now. Thanks for tuning in this week. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe. Give us your honest reviews on the podcast. Let us know what you think wherever you're listening, but also make sure you like and subscribe to our group on Facebook. Link in bio, wherever you want to go find that. We've got it link below. Go get in the group, join that. Also make sure you follow us on YouTube, and you're going to be entered to win a Jase case here in the next little bit. As soon as we break 1,000 followers there, we're giving that thing away. So stay tuned, stay ready, and stay ready-minded.
Take care.